I was working the front desk at a boutique hotel in Prague when an American couple walked in at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. They were dragging huge suitcases and looked exhausted. The man came straight to my desk and said he needed dinner recommendations that were open now. I blinked at him. "Sir, it's Christmas Eve. Everything closed at noon." His wife stepped forward. "What do you mean closed? It's only 9 o'clock." I explained that in Czech Republic, Christmas Eve is when families gather for the main celebration. Restaurants, shops, even most gas stations shut down by early afternoon. The streets were empty except for people walking to midnight mass. The husband's face went red. "That's ridiculous. What are we supposed to eat?" I offered to make them sandwiches from our breakfast supplies. He wanted to speak to my manager about the hotel not warning them. I was the night manager. They ate the sandwiches in silence in their room, but that was just the beginning of understanding how American travelers struggle with traditions that don't match their expectations. See, back home, Christmas Eve means last-minute shopping and restaurants packed with people. Here, it means stillness. I remember another incident from my cousin in Amsterdam. She works at a flower shop near the train station. An American tourist came in one morning, excited about all the bikes everywhere. He asked if he could rent one of the bikes parked outside the shop. My cousin explained those were customer bikes, locked up while people shopped. He said he'd pay double the normal rate and bring it back in an hour. She kept saying no. Those bikes belong to specific people. He genuinely couldn't understand why she wouldn't just unlock one and make quick money. Then there's my friend, who drives a taxi in Rome. He picked up an American family one Sunday morning. They wanted to visit 3 different museums before lunch. He tried to explain that most museums close on Sunday afternoons, and many don't open until 1 p.m. anyway because of Sunday Mass traditions. The father insisted Romans must go to museums on their day off. My friend drove them around to closed doors for an hour before they believed him. Or the story from my neighbor in Vienna, who teaches music. An American student showed up for their first violin lesson wearing shoes inside the apartment. When asked to remove them, the student laughed and said, "It's not that serious." My neighbor had to explain 3 times that this wasn't about cleanliness. It was about respect for the instrument room's wooden floors and the building's 200-year-old tradition. The student finally took them off, but kept making jokes about it during the whole lesson. These moments pile up, not because Americans are bad people, but because they expect the world to work like a 24/7 convenience store. When it doesn't, confusion turns into frustration. I collect these stories from service workers across 12 European countries, the encounters that never make it into travel guides. If you want the unfiltered view of how cultural collisions actually happen on the ground, subscribe. Most travel content sells you fantasies. I document reality. And these stories? They never stop coming. I work at a small museum in Krakow, Poland, focused on local history. We get a lot of tourists. But one Saturday in November, something happened that I still think about. An American man in his 50s came to the ticket desk at 9:45 a.m. He wanted 4 tickets for his family. I told him we'd be closing at 10 a.m. because it was Independence Day, a national holiday. He looked at me like I'd spoken gibberish. "You're open now, right? So why close in 15 minutes?" I explained that staff needed to attend the memorial ceremonies downtown. Our museum specifically honors veterans. On this day, we always close to participate in the Remembrance Parade. He said, "Can't you skip it?" We flew all the way from Ohio. I stayed calm and suggested he come back tomorrow. He wanted to speak to whoever decided this policy. I said it was decided by the museum board and the city, out of respect for the 50,000 Poles who died for independence. His wife pulled him away before it got worse. They left angry. The thing is, Independence Day here isn't just a day off work. It's when we remember real pain, real sacrifice. Americans have their own holidays like this, but somehow expect other countries to keep the shops open during ours. My sister faces similar issues at a pharmacy in Bergen. Norway. Last Constitution Day, which is huge here, a tourist came in demanding cold medicine at 7 a.m. The pharmacy opened at noon that day for emergencies only. He argued that his cold was an emergency. She explained that Constitution Day means morning parades, traditional costumes, ice cream for children, and families together. Non-essential businesses stay closed until afternoon. He said, "What kind of country shuts down pharmacies for a party?" She pointed him to the hospital pharmacy that stays open 24/7. He complained the whole way about Norway being backwards. Later, she saw him at the parade, looking miserable while everyone around him celebrated. He never understood that some days aren't about convenience. Then there's my colleague who works at a post office in Budapest. Last August 20th, which is St. Stephen's Day and the founding of Hungary, an American businesswoman came in with urgent documents to mail to the States. Every window was closed. Signs everywhere said we'd reopen August 21st. She found my colleague in the back room, doing inventory. She knocked on the window and waved money around. "I'll pay extra. This contract needs to go out today." My colleague came to the door. "Ma'am, it's a national holiday. Even if I processed it, no planes leave today for international post. It won't move until tomorrow anyway." The woman said, "In America, we don't let old holidays stop business." My colleague responded, "In Hungary, we don't let business stop us from honoring St. Stephen, who created our nation over 1,000 years ago." The woman left muttering about efficiency. I understand the confusion. Somewhat. America is young. Most of their traditions are only a few hundred years old, and many got shaped around commerce and convenience. Here, our holidays connect directly to survival, independence, faith, and identity. We don't compromise them. My uncle runs a small bakery in Dublin. Every Good Friday, he closes the shop. It's tradition in Ireland, though the laws have relaxed. He still does it because his father did, and his grandfather did. Last year, an American couple knocked on the locked door during lunch. My uncle went out to explain. The man said, "But you're losing money. Don't you want to make sales?" My uncle smiled. "Some things matter more than money. Today I'm with my family, thinking about sacrifice and renewal. The shop will be here tomorrow." The couple stood there, genuinely baffled. The wife said, "I guess that's nice, but we're hungry now." They walked away shaking their heads. The pattern repeats everywhere. Americans arrive expecting the world to operate on their schedule. When centuries-old traditions get in the way, they see it as inconvenience, not culture. I don't think they mean disrespect. They're just used to a place where everything stays open. Traditions are flexible, and money talks. Here, traditions are the bedrock. They're not negotiable. One more story. My friend works at a cathedral gift shop in Santiago de Compostela, Spain. During Holy Week last year, an American pilgrim finishing the Camino wanted to buy souvenirs during the afternoon procession. The shop was closed. All of us were outside watching the procession. As we do every year, he found her in the crowd and asked when she'd reopen. She said, "After the procession finishes. About 2 more hours," he complained. "I have a bus to catch in 3 hours. This is my only chance." She watched the hooded penitents carry the religious icons through the narrow streets. She said softly, "This procession happens once a year. It's been happening for 400 years. Your bus comes tomorrow, too." He left frustrated. That moment captured everything. To him, buying a souvenir was the important thing. To her, bearing witness to 4 centuries of faith was sacred. Neither was wrong from their own perspective. but only one of them was in Spain. I work as a tour guide in Stockholm, Sweden, leading small groups through the old town. Last June, I had an American couple in their 30s on a walking tour. We were passing through a quiet residential street when the man suddenly sneezed. 3 Swedish people nearby said nothing. We kept walking. The American woman whispered loudly, "Wow, rude. Nobody said bless you." I explained that in Sweden, we don't usually say anything when someone sneezes. It's not considered necessary. Silence is normal. She looked shocked. "That's so cold. What if someone's sick?" I said. "Then we trust they'll take care of themselves. We don't need to vocalize concern for every sneeze." The husband added, "In America, it's basic manners." I nodded. In Sweden, basic manners means not drawing attention to someone's bodily functions. We think saying something makes it awkward. They spent the next 20 minutes debating whether Swedes were considerate or cold. They never quite accepted that different. Cultures have opposite ideas about the same action. My brother faces this at his job as a swimming pool attendant in Reykjavik, Iceland. We have strict rules. Everyone must shower naked before entering the pool. No swimsuits in the shower. It's about hygiene. American tourists struggle with this constantly. Last summer, a middle-aged woman from Texas refused. She said she'd shower in her swimsuit or not at all. My brother explained that soap and water need to reach your skin. Swimsuits block that. Pool chemicals work better when people are actually clean. She said it was perverted to force people naked. Other Icelandic women in the changing room tried to help. They showed her that the showers have partial privacy dividers and everyone minds their own business. She still refused. Eventually, she left without swimming. Her whole family missed out because she couldn't adapt to our hygiene culture. My brother felt bad, but rules exist for everyone's health. A similar thing happened to my friend who works at a sauna facility in Helsinki, Finland. An American man came in for the traditional sauna experience. He brought his phone. My friend stopped him. "No phones in the sauna. They overheat, and it disrupts the peace." The man argued that he needed to check his emails. My friend explained that sauna time is sacred quiet time. Finns use it to decompress, think, and relax. Bringing work stress inside ruins it. The man said, "I paid for this. I should use it how I want." My friend replied, "You paid to experience a Finnish sauna. Part of that experience is disconnecting." The man left his phone in the locker, but looked miserable the whole time, clearly anxious about missing messages. Then there's my aunt who works at a grocery store in Munich, Germany. She's a cashier, and this happens at least twice a week. American customers put their groceries on the belt, then just stand there. They don't pack. They watch my aunt scan items, expecting her to bag everything like in American stores. She scans, and the groceries pile up at the end of the belt. The line behind them grows. Eventually, someone German says something, or my aunt points to the empty bags hanging nearby. The Americans finally realize they're supposed to pack their own groceries. They scramble, embarrassed. While everyone waits, my aunt always wonders why they don't just watch what other customers do. One American told her, "Cashiers bag in America. It's their job." My aunt said, "In Germany, we respect that cashiers have enough to do. We handle our own bags. It's such a small thing, but it shows how Americans expect service to match their home patterns." My cousin works at a hair salon in Lisbon, Portugal. She had an American client last month who wanted a haircut at noon. The appointment went fine until the woman asked if the salon had a bathroom she could use. My cousin said yes and pointed to it. The woman came back looking confused. "There's no toilet paper." My cousin checked. There was a bidet, a toilet, and toilet paper on the holder. The woman said, "No, I mean on the back of the toilet. The extra rolls. We don't do that in Portugal. One roll on the holder is enough. If it runs out, you ask for more. The woman seemed to think this was a sign of poverty or poor planning. Cousin explained it's just different. Americans apparently stockpile toilet paper in bathrooms. We don't. The woman left a review online, saying the salon was unprepared. Baron Maikon, friend who works at a train station in Copenhagen, Denmark, deals with this stuff differently. She sells tickets and gives directions. American tourists always ask her where the train tracks are. She points to the stairs going down. Platform level is below. They look confused. Why aren't the trains at ground level? She explains that Danish train stations are built with platforms underground or elevated to save space and reduce noise in cities. It's smart urban planning. Americans often respond, "That's so complicated. Why not just have them on the ground?" She wants to say, "Because we designed our cities before cars existed, and we adapted intelligently." Instead, she just smiles and says, "It works well for us." One American man told her, "In the States, you can see your train coming from outside the station." She thought, "Yes, and your cities are also designed around cars, sprawl, and newer infrastructure. Different contexts." But she just said, "Enjoy your trip." These unspoken rules trip Americans up constantly. They're not written in guidebooks. They're not obvious. They're just how we live. And when Americans encounter them, they don't think, "I should adapt." They think, "This is wrong." I work at a war memorial museum in Normandy. France, we focus on D-Day and the liberation of France. It's heavy, emotional work. Most visitors are respectful. Last April, an American family came through. The teenage son wore headphones the whole time, barely looking at exhibits. The father kept saying things like, "We saved them. They should be more grateful." I was standing nearby and heard this. Other visitors heard it, too. A French couple in their 70s looked pained, and the elderly British veteran sitting on a bench shook his head. The American father pointed at photos of destroyed French villages. "See? We had to come fix this." His wife took selfies in front of a display about civilian casualties. Not thoughtful photos. Smiling selfies. I finally approached them. I said quietly, "Sir, this floor honors the 20,000 French civilians who died during the liberation, many killed by Allied bombings. It's a complicated history." He looked annoyed. "We liberated France. That's what matters." I said, "Yes, and we're grateful. But liberation came with tremendous French sacrifice too. This museum honors everyone's pain." He didn't get it. To him, it was a simple story. America arrived. 1. End of story. The complexity. The French resistance fighters. The years of suffering under occupation. The moral weight of bombing your own cities to free them. None of that registered. They left after 30 minutes. The British veteran came to me afterward and said, "Some people only hear the parts that make them heroes." My colleague in Krakow faces this at the Auschwitz Memorial. She works as an educator. There, it's the hardest job I can imagine. She told me about an American couple last summer who treated it like a theme park. They complained about the long walking distances between buildings. They asked if there was a gift shop with refrigerator magnets. She had to explain, gently, that Auschwitz is a cemetery. Over 1 million people died there. We don't sell magnets. The woman said, "Other museums have gift shops. We wanted a souvenir." My colleague showed them the book section with historical texts and survivor testimonies. They wanted something small and cheap, she suggested. Reflecting on the experience instead of buying something, they left a review saying the memorial was not visitor-friendly. These aren't just awkward tourist moments, they're collisions between worldviews. Analyze them. Because understanding why they happen matters more than judging who's wrong. If that kind of depth is what you're looking for, you're in the right place. Subscribe. This happens more than you'd think. Americans sometimes treat European historical sites like entertainment, not like sacred ground where real atrocities happened within living memory. My friend works at the Anne Frank House in Amsterdam. She manages crowd flow and answers questions. An American tourist once asked her, "Is this where the movie was filmed?" She said, "This is the actual house where Anne Frank hid. The real place." He said, "Oh, I thought it was just like a replica or a museum version." She explained that these were the real rooms, the real stairs, the real annex where a child hid in terror for 2 years before being discovered and murdered. He took a photo of himself smiling on those stairs. She stopped him. "Sir, this is a memorial to genocide. Please be respectful." He got defensive. "I'm just taking a memory photo." She said, "The memory should be in your heart, not on Instagram." He complained to management about her being rude. Then there's my uncle who works at a castle in Transylvania, Romania. It's a beautiful medieval fortress with real history. Americans always ask him if Dracula is real. He explains that Bram Stoker's Dracula is fiction, loosely based on Vlad the Impaler, who was a real historical figure but not a vampire. The castle has nothing to do with either one. Directly, it's a fortress, built to defend against Ottoman invasions. American. Tourists looked disappointed. One woman said, "So there's no vampire history at all? Why did we come here?" My uncle said, "Because 500 years of real history isn't enough." She wanted a refund. This frustrates him deeply. Americans, raised on movies and simplified stories, struggle with complex reality. They want clear heroes and villains, not the messy truth of empires, wars, and survival. My neighbor works at a museum in Athens, Greece. She handles the Parthenon marble controversy. Constantly, American tourists ask why Greece doesn't just move on from wanting the marbles back from Britain. She explains that the marbles were taken without permission during Ottoman occupation, when Greece had no power to protect its heritage. They're sacred artifacts, central to Greek identity. Americans often say, "But they're safer in London. Better museums," she replies. "They're safer at home. Would you want the Statue of Liberty in a Chinese museum because they have better security?" That usually makes them pause. One American man said, "That's different. The Statue of Liberty is ours," she said. "Exactly. The marbles are ours." He still didn't fully get it. My sister teaches high school history in Budapest. She took her class to a memorial about the 1956 uprising against Soviet control. An American exchange student was in the group. The student kept comparing it to American independence, as if they were the same thing. My sister explained that Hungary's fight was against a superpower next door, with no ocean protecting them, no allies helping them, and brutal consequences for losing. The American student said, "But you got freedom eventually, right?" "So it worked out." My sister said, 50,000 people fled the country. Thousands died. Families were torn apart. It didn't just work out. We survived. The student looked uncomfortable. She'd reduced trauma to a happy ending. That's the pattern. Americans want history to be simple, resolved, and preferably about them. When confronted with European history's depth, pain, and ongoing impact, they don't know what to do with it. We live with history every day. Our buildings are older than their country. Our wounds are fresher than they realize. And when they treat it like a tourist attraction, it stings. I work at a traditional Christmas market in Nuremberg, Germany. It's one of the oldest in Europe, dating back to the 1500s. We sell handmade ornaments, gingerbread, mulled wine, and wooden toys. Everything is traditional. Last December, an American woman in her 40s came to my stall. She picked up a hand-carved nutcracker, looked at the price, and gasped. 80 euros for this? I can get one at Target for 20 bucks. I explained that this nutcracker was carved by a local craftsman. It took him 3 days to make. It's real wood, hand-painted, made using techniques passed down for generations. It's not mass-produced. She said, but it does the same thing, right? Cracks nuts? I smiled. Actually, most people don't use these to crack nuts. They're decorative. They're art. She looked at it again. So it doesn't even work? Why would I buy it? I tried to explain the tradition, the story behind nutcrackers, the pride in craftsmanship, the connection to Bavarian culture and Christmas heritage. She put it down. This is a scam. You're overcharging tourists. I watched her walk to the next stall and buy a plastic snow globe made in China for 5 euros. That moment captured everything. She couldn't see value in tradition, skill, or heritage. She only saw function and price. The mass-produced item made more sense to her than the handmade treasure. Later that day, a different American couple came by. They were older, maybe in their 60s. They picked up the same nutcracker, asked about the artist, listened to the whole story, and bought it carefully. The wife said, "We'll treasure this forever. Thank you for keeping these traditions alive." I nearly cried. I'll keep documenting these moments whether you subscribe or not. But the people who do, they're the ones who travel smarter, understand deeper, and see past the tourist surface. If that's the kind of traveler you want to be, or the kind of European you are, you already know what to do. That's the thing. Some Americans get it. They travel to learn, to respect, to connect with something deeper than convenience. They understand that Europe isn't a theme park or a shopping mall. It's a living, breathing collection of cultures shaped by millennia of joy and pain. But others arrive expecting us to be like America with older buildings. They want 24/7 service, simple stories, and cheap souvenirs. When we don't provide that, they see us as backward, inefficient, or rude. We're not backward. We're just different. Our traditions matter. Our history is heavy. Our ways of living were shaped by geography, wars, faith, and survival, not by convenience. And when Americans take a moment to understand that, magic happens. But when they don't, we get stories like these. The Christmas market runs for 4 more weeks. I'll be there every day, explaining nutcrackers to people who think they're overpriced, and occasionally meeting someone who understands they're priceless. And these stories, they never stop coming.